Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021 as always. And in today's video, we're going to be showing a full 25% race at China, because China is a track that I really enjoy to drive, but everything just seems to go wrong around this circuit for me. It's kind of like Zandvoort or Azerbaijan. In the past, I've just never really had great races. Although I've had good pace, just something happens. And we'll start last here. We're going to give ourselves a 10-second, basically 10-second wait and stop and go, because I just want to really try and clear all the carnage and just give myself a little bit of a challenge, because I thought the setup was working very well around here. You can see the only thing I changed was the 57 brake bias. See, we gave us that 10-second self-inflicted stop-go, but my wheel, you can tell by my face, is not working properly. And that's because if you leave the game and come back in, there's always this issue with Fanatec where the full feedback is just completely different. So I had to restart my wheel. So I've effectively given an even bigger deficit. I don't know quite how big it is, but definitely not what I wanted. And now we really do have a challenge on our hands, and let's see how good this setup will go. But you can also see I've actually changed my camera and I've changed the gamma settings, so thank you very much for people who were saying that to me, because my game was just far too bright. So hopefully it's an even better viewing now, and I certainly think it is. So let me know if you like that camera position. We'll be doing it for my streams where I have a league race round Monaco tomorrow, so I'm really looking forward to that. You can see we're quite a way behind the field here. You can see the leader is almost into the braking zone at the end of this straight, so we've got a long way to try and claw back. We have to really do an insane comeback if we want to try and mount a challenge to win this race. But this setup I'm using here with my TT, which I have finished all the setups now, which still can't believe I'm saying. If you go to my setup playlist, you'll be able to see a set for every single track. And if you want the updated setup, so any changes I make for the race or for a league race, then make sure you become a YouTube member, because I always talk to people on there every single day. It's for members only, and you'll be able to get access to real-time updates, a first priority invite for lobbies such as this, emojis, emblems. And also want to say a massive thank you to Zenvious and Nolan Henhan. Those are premium members, and if you join the Extra Rotation Club, I will be giving you a shout out every single video I do. So a huge thank you to those guys, and for everyone who has joined recently as well. I really hope you've been finding it useful. But you can see so far we've made up one position because a couple of people behind have tired from the session here, and there's another couple of people up ahead. So I've been doing China quite a lot online recently, because I just haven't been able to put together a full race, and it's really been driving me insane. And I'm gonna go and say it, I think this is probably the hardest track for me personally on F1 2021. I think it's a track that's changed so much from 2020, mainly because of the curbs. Every curb can just punish you very badly. Like this last corner, if you want to do the quickest route, you're gonna have to mount it, and sometimes it just absolutely destroys you, sometimes it doesn't. And the curbs like going to turn 1 and through the fast left right corners, if you put a wheel on it, it will just auto spin you instantly. So it's very unforgiving. Put that with tyre wear and tyre temps, which are definitely a little issue around here, which is why I've actually put my brake bias to 57. You could use 56, you could definitely use 56, but I just really wanted to protect my tyres. So I could have used 56 for mainly this first stint, and then once the tyres got a bit difficult to handle, put up to 57. But I really wanted to do a test just to see how stable it would feel. And at the moment, we are doing the fastest lap of the race, although it doesn't show. That's because there's a little glitch in this game at the moment. But you can see, going through this traffic here, we've got a throned dragon Just struggling on those softs there. And the softs do go off fairly quickly round this track. And trying to get a good exit. We've got 3 cars up ahead of us, so I really wanted to try and see if I could get back with the leaders, which is going to be a big ask because there's quite a few good drivers in this hobby. But I felt really good with my pace. The pace of this setup in an online situation, you need that downforce. I really do believe that. Although there's some people who, you can see, we've got 3 and 1 going through into that corner. I saw some people in time trial, they were using 7.9 wings or 7.8 or something like that, which they still got a good time. But I think in the race situation, particularly when your tyres go off, you're going to need that front end. And we definitely have a front end with this setup since we are rocking the 9.7 wings. You'll be able to see with the 57 brake bias, it's handling the car very, very nicely. So you're getting very good traction coming off here. As Jeff's just telling me, there's a green flag, so it's just really useful information. And the pace is looking really good so far. So we're back up into P9 already here. And the alternate strategy is very powerful around this circuit. I think it's always been the case that it's just very, very OP here. So I'm going to try and get through this traffic as quick as I can, but we are being held ever so slightly. So we really need to try and get past these people as quick as we can. You can see the leader, who I think is Veloce Dragon, a pretty good driver who I race with quite often. That's a lot of time to make up. And the guy in second as well, EOO Hamilton, he's a very quick driver as well. And you can see they've almost got a half a straight lead in us right now. So need to get past these guys very quickly. I think Dripsy, very clean driver. He's going to have the DRS, which he does. So we're not going to mount an overtake here. Just try and do it as efficiently as possible. Just giving a little bit of a love tap coming into this corner, but getting some very nice rotation coming through into that corner. He's not going to have the DRS come through into here. So I decided to miss this curb because it's just such a risk to take that curb quite a lot. Now we're using the overtake. Hopefully he doesn't fight too hard. And you can see we lost about 7 tenths to our fastest lap on that round, or that time around. So now we're coming up to FXX, Grizico, if I could even say that right. And right now the setup is feeling very, very nice. Tyres feeling in pretty good condition. And I could see from the crossover of the full map, which I don't know why I hadn't been using. Again, really, really thank people for pointing that out to me. Especially when there's a safety car pit stop that's really going to come in handy. It allows me to see how much I'm actually gaining on the leaders at a crossover point as well. So I could tell I was definitely the fastest car on track at this point here, trying to get within the DRS zone of this car up ahead, which we are going to do very comfortably. Luckily, he hasn't got the DRS on the car up ahead of him, so I'm just going to try and overtake these cars as efficiently as I can, as I always say, by just trying to avoid as much overtake. You can see we're not even using any of the overtake going down here, but you can see he's being quite defensive, so this is a little bit frustrating. I don't want to lose that much time, so he's being very, very defensive, braking pretty early as well here. So we're going to go for a switchback, but we're going to allow him to have this corner as well. So on the exit of this, coming onto the start-finish straight, he goes up that curb. He actually takes it very nicely, but we have to get past him into this turn one, otherwise we're just going to be losing too much time. And thankfully, he doesn't really put up too much of a fight, but I almost got caught on that auto spin curb, which is an absolute nightmare. Like in a league race, if you get squeezed onto that curb, then your race could well and truly be over. You can see the gap to EOR Hamilton, who's in P2, is 6 seconds. MSN's Scarlett, who races in the same league I do on Saturdays, he's a quite quick driver, and you can see he's on the soft, so I think the softs are starting to go off at this point. And so far we've actually done a pretty damn good comeback, to be honest, because we were, I think, well over a straight, pretty much the whole length of the back straight behind the 2 leaders, and they're certainly not slow drivers as well. So you know, our pace has been really, really good, actually improving on our fastest lap so far here. So we're going to pay attention to this delta, particularly to Hamilton, to see how quickly, if we can at all, close in. So I'm using a little bit of the overtake now, just pushing a little bit just to try and get as close as I can. You can see that delta is coming down pretty nice here. We really have done a great comeback so far here. So you can see the gap to MSN is coming down pretty quickly. I wonder if he's going to pit this lap. Yes, he does pit this lap. So that really gives me a good indicator of how long the softs are going to last for. And we actually set, I think, I'm just shy of a fastest lap of the race. So pretty much almost matched what we did before. So the gap to Dragon, Veloce Dragon, is 6.2 seconds, 5.3 to Hamilton. So we are gaining very quickly. However, I'm probably going to need to go for an undercut here, because if I went for an overcut, they'd probably get a 2-second undercut. Just how good the soft tyres actually are once they come out of the pit. So I was thinking about maybe going for another lap, but I did know that I really need to try and get as big undercut as I can, and I felt quite confident in my pace, even with the older tyres, which is quite a crucial factor around tracks like China and Mexico, tracks like that, because the wear is about 6 to 7% per lap. It's a pretty big difference. So if you are only half a second faster than someone, it's pretty much going to be level, I would say, if someone has a lap fresher tyres than you. So you're going to be needing to be almost a second lap faster if you want to be making some inroads in between some drivers. So you can see the gap is coming down quite a bit now, but we decided to pull the trigger and we're going to go into the pits at the end of this lap. We do have the Alpine fairly close behind, so I was hoping he wouldn't pit to potentially hold me up coming to pits. So just double confirming to Jeff that we're going to come into the pits now, cutting this corner, which you could do in esports. There was a bit of a debate about that last year, but see the graphics of the pit limiter, if you quit the game and come back in, there's a glitch where it just doesn't show you that information. So luckily we managed to pretty much guess what the pit limiter actually was. To come out here, it's really crucial that we try and get as much clean air as we can, but as we're looking down this pit straight, I was really hoping I'd get out ahead of these cars, but we have come out just behind a couple of cars that are going side by side on medium tyres. So this is really not ideal. So I need to get past these guys as soon as I can. Otherwise, I'm not going to maximise this undercut. So, surprise, he's going to the right-hand side. This guy, he's got his light flashing as well. So I'm going to try and go in between both of them. He left me room on the inside, giving a little bit of a double tap because I really need to try and get this move done. And I think we just about have. But going through a T, he tries to stick it down the inside and then ends up hitting my rear, which usually I would say sorry, but that's just a suicide move, especially when I'm on new tyres, soft tyres. There's just no point sticking your nose in there because you are just asking to be spun around with this contact model. So unfortunately, he has come off worse there, but we have lost a fair significant amount of time. Even though there's 3 corners, we probably could have been almost a second up on what we could have been here. So I'm not going to push too hard because I want to try and save as much ERS as I can for the end of the race, because I felt like I wasn't going to get a big undercut now and go down the straight. If I use 30% ERS, I'll probably only gain maybe 2 or 3 attempts at absolute max. So I really going to have to rely on my raw pace now coming towards the end of this race. So I want a chance to win this race despite where we were on the first lap. We were absolutely miles behind, because if we do a purple with our sector without even really using the uptake button, Veloce Dragon, we've done an absolutely insane undercutting him. So I think he must have had quite a bad in lap as well, as Hamilton has stayed out for an extra lap. So he's got to have 2 lap fresher tyres than us. And you can see the wear is already on 7%. As I said, about 6 to 7% here. And now we're coming up behind traffic. So this is really not helping us. Hamilton is looking like he's going to be in a good position. I really wanted to win this race, because obviously when you're recording, you want to try and have as many exciting races as possible. And if we could win from where we were, that would actually be one of the most insane comebacks I've actually ever done in an online lobby here. But we're coming up to the cars at the worst time. So although we are improving half a second on a medium lap, which we are still going to get somewhat of an undercut, I think it could have been so much more than this. So this McLaren, I don't think he has pitted yet. I'm not going to use any of the overtake again, because with the disadvantage of these worn tyres, I know I'm going to have to be driving so much faster than Dragon and Hamilton if I want to try and win this race. So let's think about just dabbing on and off of this brake, just pushing them out wide slightly, so just get the elbows out just to make sure you get that position done, as these guys are still continuing. Well, Scarlett, he was actually, I think he has actually pitted. He went for the undercut on the mediums here, so let's see what Hamilton is. And Hamilton has come out ahead. We have closed the gap, but we're going to have to do a lot more than that. But coming behind the AlphaTauri, about sticking my nose to the inside, so we have to get a little bit aggressive here, because we just can't afford to be losing this much time behind other drivers. So coming off the exit, AlphaTauri, I knew his red light was flashing. Is he going to try and go for an overtake? But he actually runs into the back of me, so he actually pushes me out wide, which is slightly frustrating, but we do get the move done. And now the gap to Hamilton is 2.5 seconds, so we have gained about 3 or so seconds in those 2 laps, so 1.5 seconds of lap. I think we could have completely undercut him, to be honest, if we didn't have any traffic. So that's something you definitely have to look out for when you're doing league racing stuff as well, knowing what the crossover point is when you pit versus other people around you. Then you'll get a good sense of when to pit or not. But you can see here again, the gap is 2.7 seconds, so he's going to have about 14% fresher tyres than me on softs, when they only really last about 7 to 8 laps at absolute max. So that's going to be quite a significant advantage for Hamilton. I can see Dragon, his ERS is, he's under 10% here, and we've got about 80%, so we've got so much more ERS in him. Crucial that we get this move done coming off the exit of this corner. So we're using the overtake button. Is he going to try and defend? I think he does slightly defend, so fair play to defending, but you can see that straight line speed is just going to be too much, as we're now behind, as the MFD is a really annoying feature in this update, where every time it hits 20% or then every 10% afterwards for each tyre, it then just pops up automatically, which is actually very, very distracting. So hopefully that's something they can either remove or just give us an option to turn that on and off. But the focus now is to try and catch EOR Hamilton as this MFD keeps on popping up once again. So the gap is about 2 seconds, and if I was to take a guess, I think if I had those tyres, I'd be going 5 to 6 tenths a lap faster than what I would be lapping now. So it really is a big advantage if you could have the fresher tyres. So you really want to try and go as long as you possibly can around tracks such as this, because I think the rewards at the end of the race is really going to swing in your favour. But we're going to have to use quite a lot of the ERS now, and the good thing is that we've actually put Velocity Dragon out of our DRS zone, so we're still keeping this 57 brake bias. Probably could have changed it to 56 just to get a little bit more rotation in the corners, but I really wanted to try and protect my tyres, and that's an example of how that curb can really destroy you. But we just survived there. Running out wide, if you run super wide as well, it won't actually give you a track invalidation, versus if you try and keep it on the track and you go slightly wide, then it will. So if in doubt, just go flat out and go completely wide. But you can see, despite having this tyre disadvantage, we are closing in on Hamilton here, so we can still do this in this race. I still can't quite believe, like, because of what we had at the start, where we had to restart our wheel and everything as well, that we're actually managing to come back from this. And as I said, against pretty competent drivers as well. So the setup was working incredibly well around this track. The only thing I just changed was the brake bias. But you can see again, we are closing just a little bit through this middle sector, keeping on that 57 bias just to try and save the wear and protect the tyres as much as I possibly can. And please, once again, let me know if you prefer this camera angle and the map and just how the game looks and stuff as well. Hopefully it's a bit more visibly pleasing. You can see we're running fairly low on the ERS now, and coming through into here, you can see the gap is about 1.5 seconds, so we are gaining quite a bit. So we are driving very well, and you can see Velocity Dragon is starting to drop off. You can see with MSN, That's almost this car. As we actually got a time penalty because of that, which I thought was pretty harsh, if I'm being honest. Just running out wide as well. That was probably something I would debate if that was an elite race, but yeah, because I think we only had, I don't think we even had a warning before that point. So as Jeff was saying, we got 2 laps of fuel, but you can see the drop off from MSN. He is almost 4 seconds back now, so that really does show how powerful these tyres actually are. And right here, you'll see it as we cross the start finish line at the end of this lap. I thought this was the last lap of the race, so I'm doing everything to get within this DRS zone, as it looks like he's going to get the DRS on the car up ahead. So we're using a bit of the overtake here because I really wanted to get within this DRS zone, but I don't think we're quite going to do it. But that actually benefits us with this ghost car, because I don't think he's got the DRS, and we would have been outside of it anyway. So thank you very much to this AlphaTauri. And you can see I'm using all of my ERS because for some reason I thought this was the last lap of the race. So I think I need to make that lap chart just a little bit more visible. So I always just look at it out of my peripheral vision. So I thought he won the race here, and you can see the wear is getting up to almost 40% already. So the tyres aren't very durable around this track, but we're using the overtake, and you can see here as I step forward, I thought that was the end of the race, but then I quickly realised it's not. So we actually have another lap to do this, but the problem is that I've actually used all of my ERS on that last lap, thinking that that was it. So we could have actually done this, but I still want to try and win on track as well. And you can see Dragon really has fallen off now, and we were within the DRS zone of Hamilton up ahead here. So just try and navigate this nicely. The tyres will be screaming at this point here, because he would be on not even on 30% wear, so he should have a lot more grip. But going through to here with that front end we have with the 9.7 wings, it's working very well going through DC, because of course he actually makes a bit of a mistake here, so we still maybe have an opportunity to win this race on track. But there is another ghost car coming up ahead here, and is he going to get the DRS from this car? I don't think he is, but we are going to get the DRS. So let's see how much more straight line speed we have. But we are running very low on the ERS, and it looks like he has a bit more of the battery power. So if you pay attention to this delta, we are going to be gaining very, very slowly. If only we had a little bit more power there. You can see really gaining on the braking zone as it's gone up to 45% here. So under 4 tenths behind. If we had another lap, we maybe could have done this, but despite that, as he's weaving there, fair play to him. But I think if he re-watches the video, he had about a lap. We had about the whole straight as an advantage at the start there. But nonetheless, a win is a win. And I was very, very happy with that race in the end there. If we paid a bit more better attention, then it could have been even a better result. But once again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you to Zenvious and Nolan for the extra rotation, YouTube members, and for everyone else who has joined. If you do join that, you do get first priority invites to these lobbies and many more other benefits as well. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend and catch you tomorrow for a live stream. Peace.